This was in the good old days when petrol was easy to get, before we had to stop the payments on the car. In those days, buses moved in columns instead of single file, and many cities banned the horse from the main streets to favour the more rapid transport. Though times have changed, it's an ill wind that blows no good, for the old horse is back with us again, and now that other forms of transport fail us, we begin to notice how reliable he is. We notice, too, that motor transport lacks the horse's versatility. His reappearance on the highways brings fresh hope to new types of allotment gardeners. Luckily for us, the farmers are more faithful to their employees. They did not forget the value of the untaxed hay compression engine which runs on fuel produced at home. And agriculture remains the horse's own particular province. 750,000 of them, doing a different job in every season, are pulling their weight as farmers' workmates in the great drive to grow more food. For every 20 horses working on the surface of the land, one toils beneath it, as the workmate of the miner. Few of us know much about the part they play in an equally vital drive to increase coal production. We've seen them in agricultural shows, classed as pit ponies, and found, to our surprise, that the term covered horses big enough to pull the shafts out of a brewer's dray. At the same time, there's many a circus claiming to show the smallest horse in the world, which would exchange its star performer for this working pony from the north. Their sizes vary, but one thing is common to these colliery horses: their good condition. Here's a pony from a Midland pit which has worked for over 20 years beneath the surface. Few agricultural horses of his height and age would prove as healthy. No, he's not blind. In fact, years before he started work, the law made it illegal to use a blind horse in a colliery. A lot of care and a lot of genuine affection is lavished on these ponies by their drivers. Upwards of 33,000 horses work down British pits, so it's something for a miner to be proud of when his animal is picked up to be shown up on the bank. The real reward of care and treatment is at the pit itself, for the fitness and condition of the animal bears a direct relation to coal output. Accident or sickness means that a new pony takes the place of a highly trained one. And it is from such reserves as these that the collieries draw their relief ponies. Most of them originally came from Dartmoor or the Shetlands. Bought as 2-year-olds, they spend another couple of years roaming the fields above their future working places, since it is against the law to take a pony underground until it's past the age of 4. When a fresh worker is needed, the farm manager picks out the likely one. Then the fun begins. Catching eels is child's play by comparison, though it's heels these fellows have to watch, for the ponies have a business end as well as a turn of speed. To the local kids, of course, a show like this is better than a Wild West picture. The manager tells the foreman to bring his mate along as well and try to pen the ponies. Otherwise, the kids will get more than their money's worth. The job may last all day. The foreman brings his mate. His name is Titch. 25 years old, with 20 years of service underground, he's now on the retired list, but still he earns his superannuation carrots. The wild ones know him, and they're fond of him too. Where he goes, they can usually be induced to follow. It's a shame to take advantage of such trusting innocence. That's that. At least the manager hopes so, and so do the boys inside the pen. They've only to put the halter on, and this pony has no yearning for a collar, a feeling which the kids can fully understand. Every time the pony gets away, the kids let out a cheer, and in between they hand out free advice on how to catch the victim. They ought to know, for they've a heap of stolen rides as background for experience. The job is done. Everyone has to work sometime. At least they have to in this industry. Our little stick of dynamite is introduced to training school. Bit by bit, a day at a time, over a period of a month, he is accustomed to discipline. He settles to the feeling of a rope and bridle. Titch plays his part in this game too. The protective harness which he wore in working days goes back on the wise old head, and he trundles his little tub around the schoolyard as an example to the nervous youngsters. Getting used to the feeling of the shafts is the hardest part of training, but spirit and intelligence usually run together. And after the first wild break to shake off the infernal thing behind him, the pony settles down to learn to pull a load. When training days are over, the vet examines them. Young Dynamite is passed as fit. For comfort's sake, his mane is clipped. A trailing tail would be a danger to him, so that is clipped as well. There are no flies down below, he won't need it. His hooves are made ready for his first pair of shoes, and the smith heats up the metal pieces that are no larger than the heel plates on an army boot. Now for his first trip down the pit. His play days are over. He is no longer a mere skewball pony. He has become a useful member of the colliery community, a workmate. 500 feet below ground are the stables, and they do credit to a racehorse owner. Large, clean, well ventilated, and free from blackout problems. Almost makes a human being envious in these days. Jim, the chief horseman, leads the new arrival to his quarters. This pony won't be easy to keep clean, but he looks a promising worker. Now for a few particulars. His height, the year he started work, and, of course, a name. That's most important. That's not such an easy matter for Jim, for besides being the chief horsekeeper, he's the chief christener. And with 107 other ponies in the stables, finding a new name is something of a problem. Considering that some young parents take almost a year to find the wrong name for the first baby, we should give Jim a little time to scratch his head. Oh, inspiration already. Yes, you'd better look too, it's your moniker. What is it? Winnie? He's not that kind of a horse. Windsor? Well, that's a good name to live up to anyway. Now let us introduce another workmate, Tom, the putter. Putter, incidentally, is the Northumbrian term for driver. He's experienced but new to this particular colliery. As he collects his lamp, he's given the name of his pony. He isn't vastly impressed by it. His last pony was called Nobby. This name, Windsor, sounds too classy. As he makes his way to the cage, he wonders if the pony will be any good. The stables are as long as streets without a pub, and Tom has now to find his horse. One by one he looks over the stalls, and all the ponies look him over too. They know he's a new boy. Probably they too wonder whether he's a good one. Windsor, not this one. Nor that. Jim was in the army when he christened these, the Salvation Army. Now he's found him. Is he a good one, he wonders? If Jim, the horsekeeper, were asked, he'd say that all ponies are good, as long as they're well treated. Perhaps Tom knows this too. A lump of sugar goes quite a long way at this stage. It looks like a good start to a long friendship. And so, putter and pony commence their first day's work together. Down on the coal face, the miners are already breaking out the coal. They are opening a new heading where mechanical conveyors can't be used. To be kept waiting for a tub to fill means loss to them, for they are paid according to the full ones they send out. Before filling the tub, the miner ties a token on it, carrying his number, thus ensuring that the load is credited to him when it reaches the weighbridge at the surface. The tub already bears the putter's token, indicating in the same way the number of full tubs he hauls to the main roadway. Windsor feels a little strange in these surroundings. He's not particularly nervous, but slow and overcautious. This makes him stumble on the rails, striking the props behind him with his steel-shod harness. He pulls away, carefully picking his steps through the low gallery. As a newcomer, he's on the shortest run, pulling his load a bare 200 yards to a point where it is taken over by a bigger pony. Windsor is unhitched and the full tub taken over to carry on its journey down the main road. Tom shows that he at any rate is not a novice by tying on his token as the tub is on the move. The full tubs are taken down the main road by the heavier pony to be picked up by mechanical haulage. As they are made fast to the hauling wire, the engineman is signalled and they start the long stage of their journey to the surface. There are over 100 miles of roadways in this particular colliery. While pony haulage accounts for some few hundred yards of the coal tub's travel, mechanical means transport them many miles. By lunchtime, bait time as the miners call it, the pony seems to be settling down. His cautiousness has gone. He's ready to make fresh acquaintances. Tom begins to realize that this partner has a mind of his own, as well as an appetite that tells the time. All right, if you will stick to your horse's union mealtime, go on and stick to your own grub. Tom's stomach isn't so good at time-telling, for the simple reason that it never goes too long without being wound up. His appetite at any time would make a ration card look like a well-punched bus ticket. If this hadn't been an unusual morning, that bait bag would have been inside out long before this time. He's even got an apple left for lunch today, which brings us to dessert and introduces Windsor as a connoisseur in that line. Do I smell an orchard-laden breeze? Do I like this boy? The coal that Tom and Windsor started on its journey is now well on the way out by, or as the liftman would say, going up. The surface strip made by the tubs seems like a combination of a fairground switchback and the Piccadilly escalator. And not until the putter's tokens are taken from the empties does anyone attempt to stop their steady progress. The tokens are collected and passed on to the checking room. Here the day's work of each boy and pony team is reckoned up. Despite the greenness of our pony, he and his pal turn in a fair day's work of nearly 200 tubs. Three months of work together show the team's true value, for tokens come through now in 300 bunches. Windsor has become pitwise. No longer does Tom lead the way to open doors. Windsor can do that job himself. He senses now that roadways are kept safe for him, and his steps are no longer cautious to the point of stumbling. His journeys through the lowest headings are made smoothly and in better time. He knows the roads as well as any of the miners. Apart from hitching on and off the tubs, Windsor could do the job alone. And being pitwise goes for other things beside the work. Already he's become the biggest cadger on the road. Tom finds life easier. He gets time now for what he calls a bit crack with his pals. And though it's against the rules to let a pony travel unattended, he's always sure that Windsor won't go wrong. But even the influence of Matthew, Mark and Luke hasn't taught Windsor to respect the fifth commandment where an apple is concerned. After all, Adam fell for one, so who can blame a poor hard-working pony? He's pulling his weight with the rest of Britain now. Every load he hauls out means something vital to the country. Coal is more than fuel. From it comes antiseptics for first aid, aviation spirit for the Air Force, oil fuel for the Navy, and the base of TNT and lyddite for the guns. So when the shift is ended, our workmates feel they brought some other tokens to the surface besides the ones on tubs. Whether these tokens are credited to Adolf or to Herman, we'll leave to the recipients. The Union won't mind. To get back to the tubs, we should point out that this one is most popular with miners. That goes for ponies too. Windsor and his mates set up a tidal wave in theirs that nearly washes out the stables. Now that fuel is rationed, you might think Tom would rather take his coal dust home and shake it in the scuttle, but it seems they all prefer to wash it off before they leave the premises. Our pony friend is due to leave as well, to spend a weekend on the bank. So this is just the hors d'oeuvres, pardon, horses' d'oeuvres, with green grass a la pasture for the next course. Tom also takes a snack. His timekeeper needs winding. You're just too late, laddie. You might have recognized another friend if you'd come out a minute earlier. Good garden stuff, what's that? Not another apple. Easy, Windsor, easy. Don't get intoxicated. That funny smell is grass. And so, we'll leave our pony where we found him, and leave to Tom, with all the other miners represented by him, the job of carrying on their fine tradition of courage and consideration, which forms the kindly background of the lives of all real workmates.